Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Let's Talk Automotive. This is episode 46, Pete, and a very, very special edition at that.
It is a very special edition, and I can't wait until we bring this remarkable review of the Tesla Model X that we did. Yeah.
So in tonight's show, we have an interview with Greg Blanford. He is the director at Rubicon who brought in this Tesla. Then we have a very, very special review for you on the Tesla Model X, and we've got how things work. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Let's Talk Automotive. So Peter, it's been quite the busy week. We flew down to PE on Wednesday last week just for the day, just specifically to go and get this footage. And what a trip it was.
It was a fantastic trip, and I've got to say the reaction from my friends has been amazing. So I can't wait to see what people have to say tonight on the show. So please, guys, if you want to ask any questions to Fani or myself about our experience with this Tesla Model X, please be sure to put your questions or comments in the comment section.
Yeah, because we had lots of questions. So yeah, if you guys, and I want to make it clear, Pete, that this isn't per se a review of the Tesla. This was more, we wanted to go, there's only one of these cars available in the country. We've never seen anything like it. We wanted to go down and experience this car with Greg, and we wanted to just go and drive it and see it and touch it and play with it and get Greg to explain the stuff to us. So that's what we're bringing to you guys today. We want you at home to experience this car.
And I want to say that one of the reasons why we were so excited was because there is a lot of hype around the Tesla vehicles.
Yeah.
And certainly based on what we experienced last week, I think it's absolutely valid, all this hype.
I agree. So I think what we should do now, Peter, is let's start off with an interview with Greg Blanford. Like I said, he's the director of e-mobility and something else. Well, I can't remember the other one, but well, you'll see it in the interview just now. So Greg is the guy behind this whole marketing campaign, and I think let's go straight into that interview with Greg.
Yep, for sure.
You happy with that?
I'm happy with that.
Hi guys, and welcome to Let's Talk Automotive, and today we've got something very special lined up for you, Pete.
Oh, I can't wait.
We're down in Port Elizabeth and we're here with Greg Blanford. He is the Director, Energy and E-Mobility, is that correct?
That's correct.
Awesome. Greg, thank you so much for having us here at the Rubicon offices. Brand new, just moved in. It looks awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, you guys are probably wondering what we're doing here. We are here to drive the Tesla Model X today. But before we do that, we have to chat to the guy who made it all possible. Right, Greg, so tell us a little bit about yourself, Greg. How did you end up here?
So it's quite a long history. The company's Rubicon is now 35 years old, just turned 35, and we've been primarily involved with the motor industry. So started in industrial automation. We're still involved with the motor industry very heavily, and PE being our base for that industry. And a number of years ago, we also looked at the renewable energy space and got involved around 2009 after the credit crunch, international credit crunch. And from there, got involved with the energy sector and most recently with e-mobility.
Amazing.
Oh, it's very awesome. I mean, Greg, I've obviously been on your website and had a look at some of the products that your company offers, and it's quite a vast bouquet of products. But the one that stood out for me was the Powerwall, the Tesla Powerwall.
Yes.
And I just wanted to ask you, when you talk about a power wall, you think maybe in terms of size that it's the size of a wall, but maybe if you can just take us through how big it is and what its capacity is.
Yeah, so maybe take one step back just to say that we're obviously very proud with our association with Tesla as their partner for energy products in South Africa. And that relationship stems back to around 2015.
Okay.
and maybe I'll share that story with you in a bit more detail some other time. But the product itself, yes, it's not very large. It's a very attractive looking product, and roughly dimensions-wise around 700 odd millimeters in length, and I think it's about 500 mils wide. I just can't remember the dimensions.
Sure.
But
So it's not
relatively
big.
small.
It's not a wall.
No,
Yeah.
not massive. But in most cases can supply power to a medium-sized home, and it's scalable from 1 to 10 units depending on the size of the home, and maybe for some small commercial applications.
Yes,
That's awesome. So basically, it's. I mean, obviously, there's batteries, and then there are batteries, and then there's the power wall.
Yeah.
Because you were explaining to us a little bit earlier that just even some of the software upgrades that are applied to the batteries can make a significant increase in their capacity. So this is obviously the premium way that you could possibly store energy from a battery point of view at your house.
Yeah, I mean, we've been involved in the industry for many years now, and when we came across Powerwall, and just to see the capabilities of the product, it's a technology-based product. So the software behind the battery itself, which manages the power flow to the home, it's next level. I mean, there's nothing that I've seen which can compare to the quality, firstly, and also the interactiveness of the software for an end user.
Amazing.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
Have you ever met Elon Musk?
Not personally. So we were fortunate enough to attend the launch of the Gigafactory in Nevada back in 2016, and that was quite an event. So managed to see him, but not interact with him personally.
Sure.
Yeah.
But hopefully that comes. I mean, if he
maybe.
sees what you guys are doing in South Africa, as an ex-South African, he's got to surely come.
Maybe one day. One day.
Oh.
I want to get back to Rubicon before we move on quickly. I want to know, what are the products or services that you guys offer?
Yeah, so first and foremost, we're a sustainable technology company, but looking at various aspects of industry and the integration of those technologies. So if we look at our traditional business, which is industrial automation, it's high-tech products. It's not the standard type electrical products that you'd buy at a wholesaler. We supply those products as well, but we keep roughly 17 to 18,000 different products on the shelf.
Sure.
Across South Africa, and we service the business-to-business community, not end users.
Sure.
So we had warehouses in all the major centers across the country, and focused on any industry that has a process and technical process. So any robotics, vision systems, safety systems, we're involved with those.
Okay.
So that's the one section of the business. Then we've also got a lighting division, which looks after shopping centers. So all your high-end lighting systems for shopping centers, we provide that as well. And then it's the energy and e-mobility divisions on top of that.
Amazing.
So never a dull day in the life of Greg.
Never.
All right, Greg, so the burning question for me, and the reason why we're here, is the Tesla Model X that you guys brought into the country, the only Tesla in South Africa, and I'm so excited and so privileged. We are so privileged.
It is. I mean, it's actually a bit of a life experience if you think about it. And the amount of people that have started to hate us as a result of getting to see this is incredible.
Yeah.
So the question is, why the Tesla, and why specifically the Model X, and not something that you guys have available in South Africa?
Well, for us, it's been a couple of reasons actually. So maybe let's give you three. So firstly, us being a partner with Tesla in South Africa for their energy products, we thought this is a great opportunity to market Powerwall and also the Megapack and PowerPack products. Because we're a business-to-business organization, often we can't reach the end user market, especially for Powerwall. It's difficult to get that narrative.
Sure.
So bringing the Model X creates a huge focus around the brand, the Tesla brand, and people want to know why we brought the vehicle into the country. It's a fancy vehicle, as you know. The Falcon Wing doors are spectacular. Wherever you park the vehicle, there's a gathering of people. People ask questions, why are we bringing this car in? And it's really around the marketing of Powerwall and to promote Powerwall products in South Africa, the energy products and the brand. So that's reason number one. Number two is we also engage with e-mobility. I'm responsible for e-mobility within the group, and we're going to be rolling out a EV charger infrastructure across South Africa. So we'll start deploying that infrastructure within the next 6 months. And it's ready to herald the arrival of electric or e-mobility products into the country. And then thirdly, again, the vehicle creates quite a stir. So if we had brought any other EV into the country, you wouldn't have created as much awareness.
Yeah.
And for us, it's important that we as South Africans move ahead with the rest of the world when it comes to e-mobility. So we want to lobby government, get involved. We've joined some of the national organizations now to lobby government to get more involved, to get the infrastructure out, to get talking about e-mobility, about electric vehicles, and get industry mobilized, because I think that's where we need to be.
Sure. On that question, and with regards to the charging stations that you guys are going to roll out, is that linked to a specific brand or OEM, or is that something that you guys are supplying to everybody?
So we represent a few major brands, global brands. I can mention them, Delta being one of them. They're a big OEM.
Yeah.
EV Box and EO Charging. Those are the three brands that we represent in South Africa. And we will be deploying these chargers within South Africa over the next 6 months at various prime sites.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So, obviously it's hot news. EVs are hot news. We've seen a lot of the manufacturers that have moved to committing to producing either vehicles that are all electrified or fully EV models. And so it's a question that's on everybody's lips. Let's take the South African context, and we know the challenges that we have with Eskom, and I think that's created a fair degree of skepticism amongst potential consumers out there. But what is your take on the practicality of bringing electric vehicles to South Africa, especially if we start to sell them on a mass production scale?
It's a very good question. I think that's one of the questions that get asked very commonly is especially with load shedding, the infrastructure with the Eskom, municipalities, etc. So in many cases we want to see EVs paired with renewable energy sources of electricity. So we've seen in the commercial sector, in the utility scale, and even for residential clients, they're starting to install more and more solar. We see that longer term, we don't see any issues with infrastructure and EVs. If you look at in a context of the European market or even the American market, most people charge their vehicles at the office during the day, and that's when the sun is out. And I mean, South Africa is one of the best places in the world for solar energy. So there's no reason why South Africa could be a leader, especially in the African continent, when it comes to e-mobility. And then secondly, if you look at from a charging perspective, most people then also charge their vehicles at home. So if you take that sort of flow through, roughly 80 to 90% of charging happens between the office and home, and out on freeways or highways, the balance.
Sure.
And of course, one of the things that remains a possibility with EVs is that we can plug them into our houses so that during load shedding we could actually run the household off our car.
Yeah, that's a very interesting one. I think that technology is probably a few years away. I know that some manufacturers, Nissan, have got that right. It's vehicle to grid technology. And I think with the development of the technology around battery packs, it will become possible. So essentially you're driving around with between a 50 kilowatt or 100 kilowatt hour battery pack, which could potentially power your home. I think the biggest issue around that is that because the battery pack is so expensive currently, potentially there could be damage done on the discharge of that battery to your home. Sure. And this is why manufacturers also don't want to do that at this stage. I think as the technology evolves, I think we'll start to see that transition over the next couple of years.
Awesome. I mean, talking about technology, one of the things you showed us a little bit earlier was some of the really cool stuff on your app that you've got for the Tesla Model X on your phone.
So our lives are becoming more and more integrated. So everything happens on your phone these days. I mean, your banking, your emails, etc., etc. So if you look at current lifestyle products like for instance, bicycles, e-mountain biking has come to the forefront now.
Wow.
It's we're actually sponsoring one of these big e-mountain bike events in South Africa, and not just mountain biking, but your vehicle, your energy at home, your solar is all available as an app now on your phone. You can monitor those products. You can set them to discharge or charge as you wish. So you've got full control of that product. And I think this is highlighted or showcased within the Tesla app. So I can switch between the Tesla app for my Powerwall at home and the vehicle, and I can have full control of the vehicle via the phone, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
So I think from a technology perspective, Tesla are at the cutting edge of what is possible with applications for lifestyle products.
I mean, one of the things that the motor industry is talking about as a future development is that they'll build all the cars with all the features already pre-built into the vehicles, but you have to switch them on and pay for them. And I see that already on the Tesla app. That's one of the functions. You can actually upgrade your vehicle via your smartphone.
Yeah. So currently, this vehicle we have is a Performance Edition Model X, and there are two upgrades that are available. One is an advanced autopilot function, and then full self-driving capabilities. I know that some of these functions are not legal in the country yet, but if they were legal, these were upgrades that we could then access via the app. And it's literally a credit card payment, and the download takes place via Wi-Fi, and the next day your car is fully self-driving. So it's astounding to see where the technology is going. And it's exciting. It's really a great time to be alive, actually.
Absolutely.
I mean, when it's time to trade in the vehicle, of course, you can quickly load a few apps to upgrade the vehicle and make the car worth a bit more.
But this is what's actually very interesting, is that from the day you purchase this vehicle to the day that you sell the vehicle, it's actually improved functionality. So either your battery pack, the amount of apps, the functionality of the vehicle is improved over time. It's like having an upgrade on your phone.
Yeah.
Same with your vehicle, and it's very unusual.
Correct.
Because the motor industry, you buy something that degrades over time.
Yes.
This vehicle upgrades over time.
Okay, I've got one final question.
Okay.
Is it a pool car, or do you get to drive it all the time?
At the moment, I'm getting to drive it all the time.
So you're the lucky
so we're
guy.
still busy with some details around the licensing and registration with the vehicle, with the Department of Transport. And once that's complete, then it will go into a sort of a carpool. But the vehicle will be traveling within South Africa. The next stop will be Cape Town for a few months, and then Johannesburg, Durban, and back to PE, and it will be on a rotational basis. So based on the marketing campaigns that we will be running across the country.
Amazing.
Well, I've got to say, what a brilliant stroke of genius from your part to bring this vehicle, and it's certainly generated interest like you cannot believe. And we wish you all the very best with your marketing endeavors with the Tesla Model X going forward.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you.
So Peter, that's Greg Blandford, and he's the guy behind this whole marketing ploy. And I think it's important for us to state right now that no, unfortunately, guys, Teslas are not available for sale in South Africa. Tesla's not coming to South Africa. There's no Tesla dealers or whatever the case is. Like Greg said there, they brought in that car specifically for a marketing ploy.
Yeah, 100%. It's a pity. I mean, we'd love to see them.
It will come.
Hopefully they will come at some stage, but there's absolutely no plans at this stage for Elon Musk to bring out the Teslas to South Africa. But I just wanted to make mention of something funny. I don't know if you've seen the news today.
I saw.
The Ford F-150 electric.
Yeah. So this is taking it to the next level.
So this vehicle, by the way, can plug into your house, and Ford reckon you'll get, again, 3 days worth of power out of this for an average size house in America. What's interesting is, as you can see there in what we would call the bonnet area, you can plug in a whole lot of consumables onto that. And in fact, on the top of the range, you get 11 built-in power sockets, with 7 being in the cab itself and the bed, including 240 volt sockets.
Yes, that's
and a whole lot
insane.
of USBs, etc., etc. So Ford are actually saying that it is a bit of a mobile generator.
Yeah, that's insane. Okay, so guys, thank you very much for joining us live. Mark Smith, we see your question, and Peter will get back to you just now. Guys, thank you very much for joining us. And what I wanted to say, Pete, is we're just shy of 4,000 followers on our Let's Talk Automotive Facebook page. And we are also just shy of 500 subscribers on our YouTube channel. So guys, please do us a favor. If you haven't, just make sure that you like our Facebook page and follow us. And also on YouTube, if you can subscribe to the channel.
So you got to subscribe to the channel, and you got to press the bell to get your alerts.
Yes.
But I smell a bit of a competition.
Do you think we should give something away?
Yeah. What you know? What, Fonny? We've
got awesome petrol clothing
Exactly.
stuff. Okay, so why don't we do this? As soon as we hit 4,000 4,000 followers on our Facebook page and 500 subscribers to the YouTube channel, we'll give away a petrol T-shirt
for each.
For each.
So the person who's closest to 4,000 on Facebook and the person who's closest to 500 on YouTube,
all right,
gets a petrol
So
shirt.
let's see some likes on Facebook, guys. Do you like that? Okay. Before we talk too much, I really enjoyed the Tesla and the drive that we had. So again, guys, come and experience the Tesla Model X with us. Here's that review. All right, guys, the moment that we've all been waiting for. Greg, just look at this, the Tesla Model X. Pete, are you excited?
Oh, I'm very excited, and I can see we've opened up our wings, ready for takeoff.
It just blows my mind. Everything just blows my mind.
Well, instead of it blowing your mind, let's actually go for a test drive in the vehicle and experience it.
Would you mind taking us?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Okay, guys, so now we are finally in the car. This is a moment I think we've all been looking forward to. So I think maybe first impressions of the drive. Fani, what have you got to say?
Every time we get into an electric vehicle, just pulling away and not hearing anything is the weirdest thing ever, and I don't think I'm ever going to get used to that. But Pete, when this door closed, it was the coolest thing ever. Can you remember the show called Beyond 2000?
Yes, I do.
When we were,
I was a little boy.
When I was a little boy and you were in my 30s. Yeah, in your 30s. That show, I feel like we're driving in it now.
Exactly.
Hey?
Actually, that's a great point, isn't it? I mean, the
we've
technology.
arrived.
Just look at the screen, for example, over here. So, Greg, you were telling us that this is actually a fully fledged computer in here. I mean, what new generation, or how did you describe it?
Yeah, it is a new generation PC with quite a lot of computing power behind it, because as I mentioned previously, the car's got full driving capabilities, self-driving capabilities, and you need proper computing power for that. So you can see by the arcade games, which we'll go through later, there's a lot of that sort of tech behind that screen.
Listen, but Greg, usually the autonomous drivers and stuff have that massive camera on the top that rotates and that. Does it do it with its onboard cameras?
Correct. So the vehicle has 6 cameras, numerous other sensors plus LiDAR. So with all of those capabilities, it has full self-driving.
But not in South Africa?
Not in South Africa at this stage because of the legislation around that.
Because we don't have road signs and road markings.
Yeah.
So, just on the arcade games, by the way, I did read an article that they were saying that this is one of the most powerful gaming computers.
Really?
Yeah. So, the fully fledged arcade game ability with a very, very, very powerful computer.
Okay, so talk to me about your first impression in the front. Have you ever seen a windscreen this big in your life? This goes all the way above your head.
Funny.
Well, there's just so many things to look at. So I mean, first of
you
all,
looked at the display.
I'm
yeah.
looking at the cluster, and it's
Check it
obviously picking up the vehicles that are in front of us
Yeah.
live and showing them interactively in terms of exactly where they are and how fast they're moving, including the traffic lights.
That is insane.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. So
It looks
I mean,
like
you
a
can see
computer
all the.
game.
Yeah.
It is quite extraordinary, really. So the camera system can also pick up road signs. It reads road signs. It reads the traffic lights as well. But just getting back to what you were saying, Fani, this windscreen, sort of a quasi windscreen panoramic roof all in one.
Yeah.
Quite incredible.
Insane. And check out the people next to us.
Yeah.
Everybody is just checking out the car.
And you know what's funny? We are inside it.
Yes. Greg, how's it been driving this car for the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, no, I mean, wherever you go, it attracts a crowd. But I think from a driving experience, I just don't want to go back to my old car. I mean, when I say old car, it's not an old car.
Yes.
It's an Audi Q5.
Yep.
The new TDI, but it's you can't compare the electric vehicle to an house. It just doesn't.
And one of the things that actually stands out for me, and we've done a review on an electric vehicle before,
Yeah.
but certainly our experience with it is that when you stop at a robot, especially the first few times, you suddenly realize just how archaic an ICE is.
Yeah.
Because you can hear the clattering, knocking sound of the engine at idle, whereas the electric car is absolutely silent.
Yeah.
I think Greg should find a place where the speed limit's not 60.
Yeah, that's true.
So 0 to 100 in this is, by the way, 2.5 seconds. I mean, come on, the Lamborghinis in the wall are going to be blushing.
I mean, so we get to 100. 100 and pretty quick flat from there.
Oh my goodness. That is just insane performance. Just listen to everybody be quiet. we can't believe it.
It's a sense of shock.
Yeah.
This big SUV and the performance out of it is sports
And Greg,
car.
I must ask you, this is in like a normal mode, correct? This is not in what's it called?
Ludicrous Plus.
Ludicrous mode.
So this is Ludicrous, but there's Ludicrous Plus, which is one level above,
Oh my soul.
which I'll show you. and
Okay.
we can test it out.
I'm sorry, but only Elon Musk would have a function on his car called Ludicrous.
Funny thing is, I was under the impression this is a bit of a name game, just the Tesla, and from photos, some of the pictures look ugly. But again, like with previous vehicles, I'm just blown away. This is fancy, and this is a car, Pete. There's nothing that I'm missing here. It's not that you sacrifice anything because this is now an electric vehicle or
And
something.
that's a great point, isn't it, Fritz? That there is no sacrifice. In fact, there's just gain, if you
Correct.
think about it. I mean,
Yeah.
the performance, the computer system, the
I can't believe that.
acceleration. I mean, it's phenomenal. Whoa.
Greg, I can only imagine you just having fun,
All the
with
time.
smiling all the time. That is actually mind-blowing. Talk us
Yeah.
through what you're doing there.
So these are the settings, the numerous settings in the vehicle.
All right.
And you can set the driving mode as you prefer. Often I just leave it in ludicrous, in sport, and standard. But there are various options that you can set it to. So ludicrous plus.
So just let's go back. There's chill,
Yeah.
then there's sport, ludicrous, and ludicrous plus.
And check what comes up when you press Ludicrous Plus.
Are
No,
you sure?
I want my mommy. Yes, bring it on.
Okay, so we'll put it in that mode and let's say yes. Okay, now it's in ludicrous plus. But the acceleration is a marked difference.
Because I'm going to line my back up so that I can get it sorted, so that I don't have to go visit a chiropractor afterwards.
What we do, it's just to experience the acceleration.
Sure.
So we don't want to break speed limits or anything. It's just to feel what that power
Sure.
Yes.
launch feels like.
So Greg, it looks very simple. How's your experience of the whole, how can I say, the software and the layout? Is it, you need a course in engineering or something?
No, so I think it's very intuitive. I think as far as the software is concerned, it does take a bit of time to understand the controls over here. But as from a driving experience, it's very, very straightforward. It's like driving a top of the range golf cart. It's the easiest way to explain.
I think it's fair to say that if you got a brand new cell phone, it would take you time to get used to the software in any case.
Correct.
But once you've learnt it, then it's kind of becomes second nature.
Especially at your age.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally a few days of playing around with the controls, going through everything in detail to understand what it does. But as far as the driving is concerned, it's up and down with one stalk and park, up, down. So it's forward, reverse, and park. There's no other controls required. It's just really that. So yeah. So let's just wait for that car to pull away.
I can't wait.
Okay, here we go.
What the hell, bro? I'm seriously just like a little boy. It's insane.
Sure.
Okay, yes, it is ludicrous plus. That is insane. And another question that I wanted to raise, and this is for you, Peter, with regards to this has got air suspension, am I correct in saying that?
Correct.
Okay, but it is quite a stiff ride, Pete. Do you find that as well?
Yeah, I think
Very sporty?
I think that's maybe the function of being ludicrous.
Yes.
So if we had to, so there we go. So Greg can stick it into comfort, for example.
Oh, so you can go comfort, auto,
Yeah.
sport, advanced.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
And there's your ride height as well. So I think if you had a very high ride height and comfort, it would soften things up
Yeah.
beautifully. Because that's the beauty of an air spring, is that it's got a variable spring rate.
Correct.
Whereas a steel spring is a consistent spring rate, except if you add weight to it, obviously.
I've got another question. So Greg, this is battery power, battery consumption, regenerative braking, all of that. So
Yes.
what's in your mind all the time? Are you thinking save battery? Are you not in that mode? Or how do you manage that?
Okay, so what's interesting with this vehicle compared to an ICE is really the regen braking. So it's a bit of a mind reset, frame reset, because it does exactly opposite what an ICE vehicle would do. So if you take your foot off the accelerator, the car goes into a brake mode or regen brake mode, and you get used to that feel. Whereas in an ICE vehicle, you take your foot off the accelerator, it typically coasts.
Yes.
So you start to gauge at what distance the vehicle will stop. In many instances, and 90% of the time, you don't touch the brakes. It's only really for emergency use, or if you're riding at a high speed and you need to stop quickly, you would actually use the brakes. But regen braking in town is the only thing you would use.
So there's just two things I want to showcase here. First of all, there's obviously little either accelerometers or physical sensors that's measuring the articulation of the suspension. So you can actually see these lines over here
Yes.
create almost a ribbon effect
Yes.
with the motion of the vehicle. So that's quite cool. But the second thing is that with that regeneration on the brakes, there is obviously a setting where you can make it that it's quite aggressive or not as aggressive.
So at the moment, it's in auto, so it will automatically adjust for your driving style. So for instance, at the moment we are in Ludicrous Plus, so what they call the cheetah stance, the vehicle would dip its nose slightly for aerodynamics, and you will notice the difference once you stop, because the front end of the vehicle will lift up slightly with the suspension. Or if you park the vehicle, it shifts back up to its ride height. If you go into the freeway, it obviously would then adjust to its lowest height, ride height,
For aerodynamics.
aerodynamics, etc. But the underside of the vehicle is also very interesting. If you have to take a look there, it's completely flat.
It's flat, eh?
It's flat, and it's got like an aerofoil, not an aerofoil, but fins
Diffuser.
underneath.
So it's got a proper diffuser at the back.
Yeah.
So what's interesting with that, by the way, is that because you've got all these different, I want to say, attitudes of the vehicle in
Yes.
terms of the nose and also the ride heights, that makes a crash test quite complex.
Sure.
Because I remember initially when they first introduced forward-facing collision avoidance systems, a lot of the vehicles were failing. And the reason for that is that the vehicle was under autonomous braking and the nose was pitching down, and so it was impacting at the wrong angle. So they actually had to adjust the crash tests to accommodate
That is
that
insane.
particular feature. So I'd imagine it's going to be very similar here.
Greg, just with regards to charging, are you charging this at night at home, or how did you guys set up your system here?
So we've got a Tesla charger here, which is mounted on the pole in the parking bay.
Okay.
And we charge there, and typically it takes like 2 hours to charge, because I run it down to maybe 50%, and then I'll just recharge again.
So one thing that's interesting, Barney, is that the first 50% of the battery's charging is quicker than the second 50%. And in fact, as the battery gets close to being full, the charging time actually takes longer and longer.
Okay.
So the way that the charging stations are actually being designed is you don't necessarily need a 250 kilowatt station. You could have a 150 kilowatt station, but you charge to 50%.
Yes.
And then you drive to the next station, you charge to 50%, which will be quicker than charging at one station to 100%.
Peter, so as you could see, we were just smiling and giggling like little kids, but what an amazing car.
I've got to tell you something very difficult for me to actually make any sense while I was speaking.
Yes.
Because I was still very much caught up in the moment of driving this vehicle.
Yes.
And it, again, was actually quite an emotional experience getting into the vehicle and driving it.
Okay, but guys, don't go away, because that was definitely not all. That was just the first half. But now we're going to show you the cool stuff.
Yeah, the toy box.
Now we're going to show you the toy box and fart modes, and we're going to do very cool stuff. So don't go away. Sasha Martiningo says that's a very interesting vehicle. Yes, Sasha, it was amazing. Thank you very much for joining us. And all the viewers at home, don't forget about the F1 pit box at 7 o'clock, right after the show on raceday.tv. Join Sasha and Gary for that and get all the ins and outs of the Formula One. And
where's Formula One this weekend? Kazakhstan?
No, in Monaco. But we've got a viewer that's watching from all the way from Kazakhstan, and that is Fawn Prinsloo. Thank you very much for joining us, Fawn. All right, guys, let's get back to the second half of that review and check out all these cool features.
Okay, Greg, now that we are safe and sound from ludicrous mode and we parked, maybe you can take us through some of the features and some of the highlights for you in terms of the touchscreen menus and
sure. So I mean, it's a 17-inch high-resolution screen with a lot of the setting functionality. But I think just to run through some of the highlights, this sub-menu has a toy box, which I think everybody enjoys. The emissions mode is quite cool.
You see.
So this is a great feature, especially when you break the ice and you've got somebody in the vehicle and you want to get something, get a talking piece, etc.
So literally, it says here fart on demand.
Yeah, so
or fart on turn signal.
So these are great features if you want to set up and you're getting passengers in the back of the vehicle and you want to surprise them with something different.
That's cool.
You can set these features, so you can activate via the button while you're driving, or via turn signal, or just randomly as we have it here on the screen, and then various fart functions. So we're in Falcon Heavy at the moment, but Ludicrous is quite a big one. And then it's got random, I'm so random, so it will just, boring fart. That sounded like Fritz.
Yeah, that's a Fritz fart.
Ludicrous is my favorite. So that's one of the fun features. I think the kids enjoy this the most. I would say some of the adults as well.
I'm going to say, I'm going to, out of all the features that we've gone through on this car, this is my favorite.
Yeah, and so tracks mode is just you can mix your own tracks, music tracks, etc. Romance is quite cool because if you're on a date, you can activate this.
Just listen to the sound.
So that's no way. So that's an actual fireplace.
Actual fireplace. So bring out the wine, beautiful view of the sea, have a romantic date. You don't actually need to go to the movies. You've got your fireplace going. That's pretty cool. Sketchpad is for the kids, just to sketch around. Then you've got Mars mode, which takes your map and transposes your vehicle onto Mars. It's just a fun feature. When you're in autopilot mode, your road becomes a rainbow. and then submarine, which is your James Bond submarine mode, which is pretty cool. So these are just some of the toys, but there's still entertainment. You've got a lot of games that you can play, and typically, if you're waiting for a charge at a charging station, you've got all these options on games. As I said, the processor behind this screen is quite powerful, so to run these games. And what happens is your car becomes your games console. So your steering wheel becomes your games console within the, for instance, this game. So you can steer action, your brakes become brakes of the vehicle.
Yeah,
So
that is sensation.
It's fully immersive and interactive, which is great. And if you want to watch a movie and then have a fireplace moment with your date, you can watch Netflix or YouTube, or you watch some tutorials, whatever you desire. So as far as the toys and you got your normal web browser.
Sure. Yeah.
This is quite interesting. So charging, you can set the charge of the vehicle.
And the reason why you'd want to do that is obviously that it makes it quicker. Because as we said earlier, as the battery starts to get to full charge, the actual time it takes to charge slows down. But also to protect the battery, because the charging introduces heat into the battery, and heat is the bad thing for a lithium-ion battery.
Correct. And in general, the charging capacity is set to 90%. But to calibrate the batteries, every 4 weeks, what I do is I set it to 100% to trip destination charging, and the vehicle will charge up to 500 kilometers or 100% charge, and that really calibrates the battery so to extend the life of the battery longer term.
Okay.
So that's important for battery management. And let's just see.
And I think this just, if we can absorb that, a 500 kilometer range.
Yeah. So again, a bit of a mind bend, because your range in town is more than what you would have on the open road.
Sure.
Because typically you're driving the car harder on the open road versus in town. So if you look at this, this is quite interesting. So energy. So depending on how you drive, it's calculated at watt hours per kilometer. So if you're driving roughly 250 watt hours per kilometer, that's sort of the optimal range. Anything higher than that, you tend to lose range. So if you gauge at 400 or 500 kilometers, you might get, say, 450, for instance, driving at higher speeds. But this function is available on my dash. You can set these sort of widgets up in your front dash, so you can monitor your power usage. Yeah, so going through some more of the features, as we showed you the energy usage, we've got the camera system, calendar, calls, but within the driving of the vehicle, so these are the standard controls. You've got the quick controls, which are open doors, set the brightness of the screen. Suspension is quite cool. I tend to leave everything on auto, because it just gives you the best of everything, really. Interior lighting, exterior lighting, driving as it's set up. What you can do is, once you set all these settings up, you can create a profile for yourself or other drivers. So if I press my name, all of those parameters are set up. The driving style is set up for me. Autopilot, this is quite cool. So they do push through beta testing software to the vehicle every now and again, and we are then allowed to test these functions. But as I say, not legal in South Africa at this stage. Okay, the Falcon door is quite interesting. So there are various sensors around the vehicle. So as you open doors, those sensors will detect if there's any obstacles, and they'll open to a limited degree. But everything again is set to auto.
So you might have a garage that's got a particularly low wall on one side, for example, that you wouldn't want the door to open up against. So that's where that comes in.
Yeah, and it would avoid all of those sort of issues. But typically, if you're parking a vehicle like this, it's a fairly large vehicle, and if the parking space is tight, the most common question with the Falcon doors is, will the doors open? And they will. So they'll open up slightly and then lift vertically and then open up, so you can get out of the vehicle. In fact, the actual mechanism is actually better than a normal door. Easier to get out of. There's typical navigation settings, trips, etc. So as far as the software is concerned, it gives you the latest information on the software. You can either choose between standard or advanced to receive sort of beta versions of software. Yeah, I mean, it's all intuitive. It takes a bit of time to just go through. But the screen is really where everything happens. And you've got seat heating, steering wheel heating, your air conditioning system. So you've got a lot of functionality within the software, and as I say, very, very intuitive.
What does the key look like?
The key is fantastic.
That's the key.
And you said 5 buttons on that.
Yeah, so 5 buttons. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and different. So double press will unlock, single press will lock. So if we open the Falcon doors on the sides, double press and they'll open. Single press on the top will close and lock the vehicle. And it's also the vehicle will sense the fob. So if you can set it up in your software, so as you walk close to the vehicle, the door will actually open for you.
Insane.
So these are all customizable features that some people like, some people don't like, because it can become a nuisance if you just want to pick up something in your garage and the door opens.
Yeah.
Sure. So you can set it to only open once you've double clicked, etc., etc. Or if you've opened another door, then it will automatically open the driver's door as well.
Amazing.
One last question. What's the one thing that you miss on this?
The ability to go into space. I think it's about the only thing that's
That's why I
missing from
didn't
it.
ask you, Pete. Is there one thing missing here? Is there one thing that you, compared to your Audi, that you think, if only, maybe the sound, maybe the grunt, or the functionality? Is there anything?
No. So in all honesty, it fulfills everything that I would want within a vehicle and more. There's just nothing that I can complain about, to be honest.
And after our driving experience, I tend to want to complain less about the price of the vehicle.
Yeah, I think that's the most contentious thing, I think. I think it's one of the hurdles. And again, it's one of the reasons why we bought the vehicle in is to lobby government to bring down the tariff structures around EVs, because this is the future. And the OEMs are getting more and more involved with EVs. So it makes sense for them to start lowering those hurdles and stimulate the industry and just get it going.
I'd go as far as to say is, never mind lower the hurdles from a tax point of view, but in fact they should take the CO2 taxes that are being charged on all RCE vehicles, most of them, and actually apply rebates to these cars to really bring them into realistic alignment from a price relativity point of view.
I mean, ideally, might be a pipe dream, but we would like to see zero duties on these vehicles for the first 5 years at least, just to stimulate that industry growth. And also ad valorem tax being done away with, because I think that's quite a big inhibitor. So if you add ad valorem tax, which is the luxury tax, with the import duties, you're sitting at 55% alone on those two taxes. And then you still add VAT. So once you've added all these compound taxes, you sit at 90% of the value of the cars in tax.
Yeah, and it's going to be a real challenge, I think, for the industry to convince government, because not only would you be removing taxes and opportunity for revenue for the government from the actual vehicle itself, but of course there's no more fuel taxes that they'll be earning. And we know that 65% of the fuel price per litre is made up in taxes. So it is going to be a challenge, but I think a challenge that's worth fighting, because at the end of the day, with what we've experienced here, gentlemen, I've got to tell you that
Absolutely
I've been converted completely.
Greg, you're welcome to go to work, but I'm going to spend some time in a 3 million rand driving simulator now for the rest of the day.
Yeah, but I think there is definitely an equilibrium that will come through as we move ahead with EVs. There will be a transition period between RC and EV. I think it's address the problem up front and see what solutions there are, and then from there assess, how do we structure taxes? How do we because obviously the government needs to make revenue in some other way. So, but address the problem and come up with solutions as opposed to putting your head in the sand and saying, well, let's hope it goes away, because it's not going away. This is the next technology wave, and if we're not ready, we're going to get bowled over.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thank you very much, Greg.
Cool.
Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Yes, Peter. How's about the performance on that car, Rick?
Well, I've got to tell you something funny. I think that my future test drives of any other vehicle has...
We've actually just made our lives very difficult.
Because this is really the ultimate vehicle that we've ever experienced. So,
Agreed.
Greg, I can't thank you enough, honestly.
My pleasure.
For you guys in Rubicon for hosting us today and really putting us through an incredibly pleasurable exercise. But I got one more request for you. And that is, I believe that this car can do the Tesla dance.
Yes, let's do that.
Let's have a look.
So Peter, that sums up our experience. Have you ever seen a car dance in your entire life?
I haven't, and I mean it's typical of what Elon Musk is all about. I mean, we saw, I think, an incredible streak of sense of humor that he's got in some of the features that he put on there, and so that doesn't surprise me. And I think, for the viewers, if they want to watch the rest of that, they must just hook onto our Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Correct.
And watch the rest of it. They used to have a celebration mode as well if you want to drag race against another Tesla, but they removed that because of the...
All right, guys, that brings us to the end of our review of the Tesla Model X. That was an unbelievable, once-in-a-lifetime experience. Thank you very much to Greg Blanford and the guys at Rubicon. That was amazing. Jackie, that helped us set everything up and arranged everything. It was amazing.
It was a real privilege. And by the way, also thank you to all the viewers for their amazing comments.
Yes.
It's been really, really stimulating to reply to everybody. So thank you for that and keep it up.
Awesome. All right, guys, so our last segment tonight, not the usual show, only 3 segments tonight because of all the content that we wanted to share. No more Tap It tonight, but we'll be back next week.
Okay.
All right, guys, so tonight we're going to teach you, or Professor Peter is going to teach us a little bit more about tires and sidewall markings and how to...
No,
it's not the tires.
Headlights.
Oh, it's the headlights. I forgot about it. It's the headlights. So all the different... Have you ever wondered about what a xenon light is and what a halogen light is and LEDs and all that sort of stuff? So that's what we're going to show you tonight. And this is proudly brought to you by Suzuki Auto South Africa.
Welcome to this week's episode of Let's Talk Automotive, and in this segment on how things work, we're going to take you through a brief explanation of the different types of headlamps that we find on our vehicles. And we're also going to take you on a little bit of a journey in terms of how we have got to some of the amazing technologies that we currently see in our vehicles. So let's go right back to the beginning when we first started to see headlamps appearing on our cars. And in those days, in the early 1880s, in fact, we used to use either acetylene lamps or oil-fueled lamps. And the oil-fueled lamps were actually the same lamps that miners used to use when they were down in the dark dungeons of the mines. But they weren't very good lights, as you can imagine. There was absolutely no focus, and they didn't last very long. And then in the 1910s, we saw the advent of the first electric lighting appearing on vehicles. But this was still the domain of premium cars because we needed to have a very small dynamo to charge a battery to then power the lights, and that was still quite expensive technology. So in the 60s, we saw for the first time sealed headlamps, and this was really a game changer in terms of the quality of headlamps that we saw, as well as the reliability of headlamps. And so with our sealed headlamps, we had halogen bulbs also that came through in the 60s, and these enabled designers to have very bright lights, especially on high beam, and because of the parabolic shape of the lenses, the lights were nice and focused, and we were allowed to now have even longer low beams. But the disadvantage of the parabolic sealed units was that the whole light was the lens. And so the designers were quite restricted in terms of the shape of headlights that we saw on vehicles. And it wasn't until we came across high intensity discharge lamps, or as we know today, xenon lamps, that made the headlight unit itself very, very small and gave designers much more freedom in terms of the shapes of headlights. And that's where we've started to see some really cool designs and cool looking cars, especially from the front. So what is a xenon light, you may ask? Well, what it is basically is a gas where we have two elements or electrodes that create light using the gas. It energizes the gas, and that gas gives off a very, very clear light. And in fact, one of the advantages of xenon lights is that the frequency of the xenon light approximates that of the sun. So in fact, at night, our eyes adapt far better and can see better when we're using xenon lights. So it's almost the carrot of lights, if you like. Now, the disadvantage of xenon lights is that xenon lights take a lot of energy to start up, and that's why initially we could only have them on low beams. We couldn't use them for a high beam, because if we flicked on a high beam, it took too long for the light to switch on. It was only in later iterations where we actually physically had a shutter over the lens that we could create the effect of a high beam. So on low beam, the shutter was closed halfway, and on high beam, the shutter opened fully. But nonetheless, it still took a lot of energy to charge up these lights, and that energy ultimately uses fuel. And then, of course, came the dawn of LED lights, light-emitting diodes. And this has really changed the face of headlamps as we know it, because there's a number of things that we can do with those LEDs. So first of all, they're very, very bright. But the second thing is they're very, very small. And because we can make these LED lights very, very small, we can have a whole lot of LEDs. And in fact, we can create a matrix of LEDs. And what that enables us to do is now to have a split beam. So we can literally have simultaneously brights and dim. And the camera that is located on the windscreen of the vehicle actually detects objects in front of it, including other vehicles, and will instruct the light in terms of where to apply a high beam and where to apply a low beam, so that we don't dazzle drivers in front of this. So when it comes to cars, we've seen incredible advances in technology when it comes to propulsion systems, our electronic systems, whether it be safety items or whether it be our user interface systems. And the next generation of technology is literally going to be with our headlamps. And we've got some incredibly exciting stuff that we're going to share with you in future episodes that includes matrix lights, it includes high definition matrix lights, it includes liquid crystal lights that literally project images onto the road, as well as lasers. And literally, the future is bright. So on that note, we'll leave it at that, and we look forward to showing you some of the exciting technology when it comes to headlights on future episodes.
Right, that brings us to the end of the jam-packed show, the Tesla episode. It was unbelievable sharing that with you guys, and please remember to share the video, like the page, go crazy. Let's share that fun and joy with everybody.
And don't forget, Sasha's standing by for F1 Pitbox on Race Day TV, so we need to hurry up and say goodbye so Sasha can get to you guys.
We'll see you guys next week, same time, same place. Have a good one.
Cheers, everyone.